Hi there. Come on in. We're back from 4 days of the deer opener. Cameraman John Ford, my son Zach, and I were up here around Crystal Falls in the Upper Peninsula. Well, it wasn't that bad. Lots of people got deer, but it wasn't as good as I and most other hunters expected. It's time for opening day on Michigan Outdoors. The clouds are pink in the sky, the few clouds that there are. It's a very clear morning here in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Opening day of firearm deer season 1990. We have a lot of optimism. The wind, there isn't any wind yet, but it's supposed to be blowing from the south. Temperatures in the 50s later this morning, so we'll be shedding all this heavy clothing we're wearing. We're here on a tract of private land that's surrounded by state land. It's been logged off recently, different parts of it in previous years, so it's great habitat, lots of deer sign. Conditions look perfect. So we're going to hunker down here and see if we can't see some deer here in the next half hour, 45 minutes. This should have been a good morning spot. In fact, an excellent one. The game vane showed the light breeze was blowing our scent away from where the deer were likely to come from. In the morning light, we spotted a doe and a fawn passing 50 yards from our blind. Yeah, there's two of them there. A fawn. Well, it came right up that draw with the trail that we thought they would. That's 4 deer in the last 15, 20 minutes. The 3 fawns and 1 doe we saw that morning were the only ones that moved close to us, and it wasn't until the next day that we finally saw a buck in this area, a forkhorn that was already wearing a tag. So you got the deer?
Yes, sir.
And you're Brent?
Brent Gatecliff.
And you're?
Jim Riggs.
Jim Riggs. Glad to meet you, Jim. Now, you must have the property back there.
Yes, we sure do.
120 acres.
120 acres. Been coming up here for about, 20 years, off and on. My brother-in-law's been coming up for at least that long, maybe 25 years.
Huh.
I've been hunting back here all the time. Enjoying it very much.
Now, somebody back in your family bought 120 acres of land?
Yeah, my dad brought that.
Just for hunting?
Just for hunting.
So once a year you come up and look at it?
Once a year we come up and look at it and enjoyed it ever since.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, this is a nice little 4-point. Is that the biggest buck taken so far from your...
This year, yep.
So far.
Got up yesterday late, so first morning in the woods. Missed opening morning, but...
You missed it?
Yep. We got here for this morning, just in time, though, it looks like.
Now, hold it. You got to give some explanation. My audience is not going to buy this. Missing opening morning, owning the hunting land up here.
Well, I flew up late 14th from New York back, temporary position out there, and we drove up opening morning and got here in the woods about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon and out this morning.
I have nightmares about missing opening morning, getting up late. That's terrible.
They were nice enough to wait for me to come back.
That was great.
Yep.
The Riggs hunting camp hadn't gotten many deer in their first 20 years on this woodland. It's just been the past 5 years that their camp has had much success. We decided to move from this wooded area to a small 5-acre field on Jimmy Butler's potato farm that had always been a great afternoon spot for deer. As we walked in on the afternoon of opening day, 1 doe was feeding at the end of the field. We hoped that this would be the start of some real deer hunting success. Is she looking at us? Can you tell, John?
Yeah, she's looking at us now.
I think that's the only one in the field.
Yeah, it's the only one I see.
Jimmy Butler told us that he didn't think there were as many deer in this area as last year, but we had a new toy to try this season, a deer decoy that we heard works amazingly well. We tried it the first afternoon with some interesting results on a half-dozen does and fawns. On the second day, we relocated the decoy and our blind. Well, that old girl might look familiar. That's our decoy out in the field. This is the same field, except we're on the south side of it. Now, the wind is coming from the west, the northwest. We thought we'd be on this side of the field. The deer tend to come out of that corner there. In fact, virtually everyone we've seen has come out of that corner. You know, a lot of people ask me, they say, Fred, how do you know which way your scent is blowing? Aha. Smoke bomb. Now we'll throw that out there and see. Oh, yes. The wind is blowing from the west. Swirls a little bit, but basically it carries our scent away. So you can see where the decoy is out there. We're in no danger of being winded by the deer, at least where we figure they're going to come from. John, this, of all the places we've been, this is the catbird seat.
You said it now. No.
I said it now, I ruined it. But this is what we've been looking for. I think this is the best we had.
It was an ideal blind, to say the least, with ideal conditions. And here's one of the fawns that wandered in. The ones that came into the field all exhibited the same basic response to the decoy, hesitating, cautious, but totally fascinated by this deer that wouldn't move.
Oh, this is hysterical.
It was amusing to see how does and fawns tried to get a response from the decoy, totally absorbed in the decoy and not looking our direction. And it was funny how all the deer continually looked the same direction the decoy appeared to be looking.
Look at that. Oh, too much. Well, that walked all around that decoy that we had been touching. Those fawns keep looking back at the decoy and where the decoy is looking. It's going back again, but it walked all around it, walked downwind from it. Apparently didn't smell where we had touched. They're just fixated on that decoy. I'd like to see what a buck does.
Only 2 fawns had come into this field the afternoon of the second day, but after sunset, when it was almost too dark to videotape, a small spike buck stepped into the field and walked right to the decoy. We'll show you how deer react to decoys on a future show, as well as the massive antlers from this buck, which I took a few seconds later. Speaking of massive antlers, here are the 2 biggest bucks we came across from the area we were hunting. Wouldn't you know that the guy to get the biggest deer up here at the Jimmy Butler farm is Jimmy Butler, and he didn't even get on his farm? Did you, Jim?
No, not exactly.
How come you don't hunt your farm like the rest of us?
Too many hunters.
How far away from your place was this buck?
Oh, about 5 or 6 miles.
And it was way back in the swamp?
Quite a ways back in.
You always like to hunt way back there where nobody else is.
Well, I try to get into areas where there's no human pressure, and I just like to walk and sneak, still hunt, and just sit occasionally and sit for a half hour or so and get up and pussyfoot around, and that's how I like to rifle hunt.
Now, is that the story on this buck?
Yes. I actually shot the deer at 10 after 12. It's about the 3rd or 4th time that I sat down, and on this occasion I sat down to watch. Well, I found this area where there were 3 or 4 scrapes, and I thought it was a good spot to watch for a while. And I sat there for 15, 20 minutes, and I thought I'd eat my lunch. So I ate my lunch, and I was just sitting there enjoying the day, and the sun was out. It was bright, and it was warm. And
you know what he's getting to, don't you, Phil?
And I was getting a little sleepy, so I thought I would just kind of lean back and take a little snooze. And
you actually zonked?
I believe so.
That's great.
And I don't know how long I was snoozing, but in the process there of sleeping, I managed to hear a twig break. And when I heard it break, I jumped up like that, and there 20 yards in front of me was the buck with his nose to the ground, and he was skirting his scrapes there. And I didn't even have time to think. I just reacted. I raised the gun and got him in my sights and fired.
That's amazing.
And I happened to luck out.
So you go all the way back into these swamps and snooze?
Well, it was, it was 12 o'clock. It was time for my nap.
Well, that's a great story. This buck is a 9-point buck, 17 3/4 inch spread.
Right.
We can still work you into the book, though.
Well.
I mean, because Jimmy Butler, the man who has the farm up here that we hunt. Now, the second place contender here for the Butler racks. Phil, what's the story on yours?
I was just getting a little bored with sitting so long, so I got up, walked over to these slashings, and I could hear something coming through the slashings. And pretty soon then I saw him, and I just raised the gun and took a shot.
And it was simple.
Yeah, it was
But you got an 8-point.
Yes.
Is this the biggest buck you've ever gotten?
No, I got a 10-pointer back in 1983.
Where was
Nice
that?
there. Up around Kalkaska.
Oh, well, how do you like hunting in the UP?
I love it.
How come?
Never go in the lower.
How come?
Beautiful country.
Definitely getting away
Just-
from it all.
Yeah, and it's pretty up here. I like
Yeah,
it.
and of course Jimmy gets away from it all too. He never
Yeah.
hunts on his own place. Well, that's great. 2 big racks to come off of the Butler farm here in the Upper Peninsula. That's why we come up here. Now well, I may have seen one like this 2 years ago.
Yeah, I kind of think you let it slip past.
I let it slip past. But they're up here, and that's our report from the UP. Jimmy, congratulations on
you,
that.
Fred.
You too, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.